What's up, guys? Alright, I found this piece of PVC. I'm gonna make a tunnel snare trap out of it. This was just laying out in the wash. It's perfect for what I need it for. It's got a cap on the end which I can leave. That'll make it a one-directional trap, so the animals will have to go into the front. It's just hollow in there. About 15 inches long. And then what I'm going to do, I'm using this bone saw, which I've just been using as a tree saw. Works pretty good. It's got small teeth, and I'm going to cut a groove here, and it should give me a hole, probably a couple inches long. It'll be just enough to thread a snare down. I'll just keep going like this, working that, and that's going to give me a hole. And then basically all I do is I stuff bait down here, rig a snare up, a wire snare, so it just fits the circumference of the inside of the tube. And there'll also be a trigger device, which I'll have to make for, I think it's another hole in here. Not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but you run a stick, the animal has to pass around the stick, dislodges the trigger and pulls up the snare. So we'll see what I can make out of this. Alright guys, we got our tunnel snare trap here. So what I did is I just sawed two slits about an inch apart, probably about 6 inches down from the opening. In this first slit, I have a wire snare. Just your regular old run-of-the-mill snare. That'll be fixed up later, and it'll essentially just run around the inner circumference of the PVC pipe. I don't know if you can see in the bottom, probably not, but there's some peanut butter in the very back, which can only be accessed by going through the front of the tunnel, because that does have a cap on it. On this other slit, I kind of burrowed a hole, big hole for a stick. I had to actually light that on fire to get it soft to carve it out more. So that's all there is for the top, and then directly on the bottom, lining up with this one, is just another slit. So then I take this piece, and it's kind of like a Y stick with a cross piece on it to give it kind of a 4 shape. And you can see how that fits in there. Now imagine a squirrel or something trying to get through there without moving that or turning that stick. It's going to be really hard. Actually impossible. When it turns, there's going to be a trigger up on the top, which will dislodge and the snare will go up. So we'll put it in. I'll basically go in like that, and it'll lock in that slot in the bottom because it's pointed. See, that stick's pointed at the bottom, and it'll fit into the groove that that slot made. And that'll allow it to stick and give it a pivot point. Now we'll just have to put this in the ground, secure it, build the snare. Alright, we got it most of the way set up here. So I've got it in the ground. I should say it's just laying on the ground. I have two stakes, like angled and stuck in the ground and then tied at the top, and it kind of wedges that thing down in there so it can't come up. I did it kind of sloppy in the back. I had to use more sticks. I may have to redo that part. But it's the same type of triggering device essentially that I use, which is a toggle on a main line. Goes up there to the deadfall. I'm going to talk about our deadfall weight for a second because this is kind of cool. So out here, there's a few big rocks, but not a lot, and they're difficult to tie up because you need a lot of string. You have to cross string. There's a lot of trash out here, so I just took a 2-liter, cut a slit in the side, and just stuck a bunch of rocks in there. What's nice about that, it's already got a neck, so you can just do a basic loop, tie it around the neck, and it's gonna support it. And then up there I just shaved that to give it kind of a smooth surface to slide on. And I'd initially just tried stuffing small rocks in, but one got jammed. So I was like, screw it, I don't really need to preserve the container, so I just cut it open, and it's holding huge rocks now. So that'll come down here, and what I haven't done yet, I'll just do like an overhand knot, make a loop there, and then run a line that'll tie to this snare. So when that goes up, pull the snare up, and it'll get whatever's inside there will get wedged to the top of the inside of the pipe here. And you're probably not going to be able to see too well in there. Probably going to scratching. Let's see if I can get my flashlight. Shine that in there. Yeah, it's a really weak flashlight. I don't know. I don't know how good that's going to show. But you can see that figure 4 style trigger is in there nicely, and it acts as kind of like a turnstile. So what happens is once that gets turned, we've got this rounded loose stick right there, and it's just pressed against there with friction, and when that turns, it's going to have a tendency to just roll that stick off, which is then going to dislodge the toggle and set the whole thing off. So I'll get the rest of it set up here and we'll follow up. Alright, we're ready to rock and roll. So I just tied a bank line to the snare, armed the trap. It's an overhand knot there that it attaches to the main line. So it splits down, goes to the toggle, and to the snare. This stick here in the middle, separate, but I did attach it and tether it to the stakes so it doesn't get lost when everything flies up. I put a small notch in the top of the figure 4 trigger stick, which points towards the back of the trap, which tells me which way it should be oriented when I set it, because you can't really see inside, so that's important to do. Put a little piece of peanut butter in the entrance just to get them interested. There's a big chunk in the back. I'm not sure how well you can see down in there, but you can see the snare is wrapped around the outside, pretty flush. It's about an inch or 2 away from the trigger stick, which is perpendicular in there. That's important. And goes up to the deadfall. And that deadfall should only drop about a foot when it falls, because it just has to go up enough to take up the snare and jam whatever's caught in there. So we'll give this a try and see what happens. Thanks for watching.